Rusty Osborne, weight loss coach, advocate, success story. He lost a lot of weight. I struggle with that as well. I've done that, but he's taken it to the next level. He helps others now. Him and his team help others lose weight. Very inspirational. He has great methods to lose weight and what you need to do. We talk about, how to cure anxiety, his top 3 ways. Uh, One, he said his number one exercise that he does every day. He actually does twice a day, that he does with all of his clients, with all of his people he works with. It takes 10 minutes a day. And I'll give you this little tip, this little teaser. It involves a pen and paper. Very, very interesting. We talk about, how to approach it, how counting calories and doesn't work. The yo-yo dieting is killing people. But fascinating discussion with Rusty Osborne, how to lose weight. Really interesting. One of the great quotes that he says is, "Don't chase the butterfly. Build the garden, and they will come." Very profound. If you're into weight loss, you know others. We also talk about how do you approach your friends who need to lose weight. Obesity is up to 75% in the United States, a major, major issue. Obesity, weight loss, how to approach it, how to talk to your friends about it. Great discussion with Rusty Osborne. I know you're going to enjoy it. Thanks for listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz. People ask me, how did I lose 130 pounds? The quick answer is always discipline. I started my business, wasn't paying attention to my health, was eating too much, drinking too much sweets. My daughter was born. Next thing I know, I'm pre-diabetic. I have hypertension. I knew something had to change. Discipline. I, like many of you, have faced many challenges in your career, in your family, in your life, in your faith. How did you attack them? How did you approach them? How did you solve them, hopefully? It all had to have some degree of discipline. I'm also asked, how did you found and start a tech business? And it lasted over 25 years. Discipline. I was committed to it, enjoyed technology, didn't enjoy some aspects of it, but knew it was necessary. Discipline. Our podcast mission: how do we use discipline to better ourselves and society? Join me, please, as I talk to interesting people and discuss how they use discipline in their family and their passion and their careers and how it helped them. Our podcast vision: growth through learning from others. Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. It'll be light and serious. Join us, please. Thank you for consideration. Rusty, so nice to meet you. I've got so many questions, man. Okay, let's start with the biggest. How are we going to solve and attack this issue of obesity in our country? It's like over 60% now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's depending on which stats you look at, a lot of them are even saying over 75% of Americans are obese, overweight, and obviously that means most of us are unhappy too because it's not fun to be that to be in that space, you know. You were there.
Yeah. I was there
Yeah.
and you were there.
Yeah, we both were. And it's not fun to feel like that. You know,
It's
it's not
not.
fun to look in the mirror again at the end of the night and say, "Really? Really, Rusty, you did that again? Like you ate like that again? You drank like that again?" You already don't love the way you look and you're doing this to yourself, you
You
know?
know,
And so how do we solve it? Well,
yeah.
there's a lot of ideas and it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of discipline on every one of us individually, as well as figuring out how do we discipline a whole country, a whole system of food distribution that's,
Mm.
you know, heavily subsidized in different ways. And just there's so many different individual human issues as well as socio-political issues on this whole plane. So, oh, it's going to be fun. Got plenty of work ahead of us.
Absolutely. There's so many factors working against us, let's say us, thus who want to, defeat obesity. And it's just very frustrating. I look at those pictures of myself back then, and I almost look at my friends and say, "How did you let me get there?" I try to
Right.
push it off a bit, and when I'm the one completely culpable.
Yeah. 100%. And it's tough to look at yourself and say you did this.
That's right.
You know, it's so difficult. And I mean, in everything in life, there's kind of these dichotomies, these paradoxes, right? On one hand, yeah, you did.
Hmm.
You put that food in your mouth, man. And so did I. I'm the one that drank 21 whiskeys in one night, plus beers, plus burgers, like all this stuff. Why did I do that? And I wish I could say that was only one time, but it was me.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we're a result of our programming. What are you being programmed by? Whether it's the news that you see or the people that you're around, the parents, the way your parents brought you up is a massive piece of this. And so, to a large degree, it's not your fault. You're surrounded by other people that aren't treating themselves well. And if your body is more sensitive to the foods that you're putting in, you're going to be the one that's overweight. You're going to be the one coming up with health issues, even if you eat exactly the same as your neighbor who's like ripped.
Mm, mm.
Everybody's different. So there's such a large combination of factors that really lead to this uh, problem on an individual level as well as on a societal level.
Certainly, certainly so. So let's talk about you. So you were overweight. What made you turn around, and then what made you help others?
I love this question. I appreciate you asking. I just love talking about me. I'm like
Yeah,
anybody else, so
you're
I
good at it.
appreciate it. Thank you. I've had a lot of practice. So I was obese, uh, and I was unhappy with it. I didn't know I was unhappy with it, but I mean, of course, on some level, but my identity was tied up in me being the one who could eat more than you. Like
Mm,
that was the one thing I was better than everybody else at. I could always eat more than you. I could generally drink more than you too, and I could just outdo people when it came to overconsumption. And so, if that's the
hmm,
only thing I felt like I was good at, and then that's just kind of what my I based my identity around. When I was growing up, I couldn't beat my brother at video games. He was more athletic than me. He was cooler than me. Like there was all that going on, but I could keep up with him in food and
wow.
sometimes eat more. And so if that was the only thing that I felt good at, that just got tied into my identity. So as I grew older and I became a full-time musician, I was never the best. Still not. I'm not going to be, and that's okay with me, but I was still better at drinking than the rest of the band. I was
Mm,
still better. I could still out eat them after drinking so much. And it was just this overconsumption um, and reinforcing feedback loop, right? Wow, I can't believe you could drink that much, Rusty. You had like how many beers and how many shots? Whoa. Like, yeah, guys, that's something to brag about. Let's keep going with that. But, when you end up just doing that to yourself every night, because all the alcohol was free, the food was generally free too, because I was a
mm,
musician playing in the bars nonstop.
mm.
Got to a certain point where it's like, I gotta do something, man. Like this sucks. I didn't like the way I feel. I didn't like the way I looked, and it's not fun to be in that position. So I started with walking. I was just like, I don't know. I got to figure something out. What do healthy people do? They walk around. They run. So I'll try running. So I start running. I did 5Ks. I did half marathons. I ran ultra marathons up in the mountains. It was insane,
Jeez.
and yeah, it was painful too. And at the same time, I had a personal trainer. I'm reading the books and doing all the things they said I should do, working out really hard, eating the exact diet in the trainer's book, and I lost like 30 pounds about, which would be cool if I only had 30 pounds to lose, but
Mm,
I had plenty more. And so when you're trying to run ultra marathons while you're still like severely overweight, that hurts, man. I got super injured, which was kind of this pattern of overconsumption again, just showing up not in alcohol but in running.
mm,
So here we go again. And once I got too hurt and I couldn't run, my identity as a runner was gone. And so I start playing bass guitar like crazy. Then I get tendonitis in my arms, overconsumption again, and
mm.
I can't play bass guitar because it just hurts. So my identity's gone again, and so I just hit this rock bottom so hard that I got to do something. So my wife and I were like, well, I don't know, let's try this dieting thing. And we dig into nutrition and spend so much time learning about nutrition and that it's a personal thing. And once we figured out what worked for our bodies, I dropped another 50 pounds like that while
Wow.
eating piles of food. I still was over consuming, but it was the right foods. And I lost a total of 85 pounds. And like, you can do this without counting
Wow.
calories? That's insane. Okay. So that's where I got. And once I figured out that I can do it, the people around me are saying, how did you do that? Then I start telling them, like, "Oh, here's how I did it. I ate this food and that food. I figured out what worked for me." And they're like, "Oh, I can't do that." So that's why I decided, okay, I need to make a difference here because these people are no different than me. They're smarter than me. They're like better than me. They're richer than me. That why is it that they say they can't do it? And it came down to I was building the discipline and they weren't. I believed that I could change and they didn't. So that's why I started coaching people and started my health coaching business and why I help people nonstop, not just on, okay, here's the foods we can eat. Here's the specific protocols to figure out what your body needs to look its best and feel its best because everybody's different. But what's going on in the mindset and the subconscious that really made you believe that you couldn't make this change?
Hmm.
And what's going on in there that may throw you off down the road? And how can we shift that so that way you don't self sabotage? So that's kind of the long version of it. But that's who I am and why I do what I do.
It's inspirational. Is it an addiction for people?
I think so. And it's I mean it's a tough addiction cuz we got to eat,
Yeah, that's the
right?
thing.
And we can be people obviously get addicted to sugar. That's one of the most addictive substances on the planet. At the same time, I wasn't super sugar addicted. I was addicted to the feeling of being really really stuffed, full. Something about that really overly stuffed sensation
Hmm.
comforted me. I didn't know I was looking for comfort, but I guess I was. And that's just what I wanted. I still love feeling full. I don't love feeling sick to my stomach full anymore like I used to, but I do like to just feel satiated. And that's why I don't teach counting calories. That's why I don't count calories. Like I want to feel full and feel good and not feel hungry if I don't want to. So, yeah. That's my view on it, but I would say everybody's on some level addicted to food cuz otherwise we die,
Right.
right?
Yeah, if you're addicted to gambling, you just stop gambling. If
Mhm.
you're addicted to alcohol or drugs, you stop those. But food, we have to continue eating. You know, I want to talk about, you mentioned discipline, and it's one of my themes only because uh, I lost. So I started a business. I was up to 340 pounds before I knew it. So my daughter was born. Doctor says, Joe, you're pre-diabetic. You're going to have hypertension. You're not going to see your daughter grow up. So this was the moment. That was the kind of come to Jesus or the turning point, and I just stopped drinking sugary drinks. I worked out every day. I cut everything in half, and I lost a lot of weight within 7 or 8 months. And then I started doing triathlons like yourself and just kind of kept it up. But I had to have that come to Jesus moment. And people always ask me, how did you do it? How did you do it like yourself? Like there's some magic bullet. Like, I don't know, I put my socks on backwards. Something like there's gonna be some trick to it. And no, the answer is just discipline. But so when you coach your students, your colleagues, have they come to that moment? Have they had some life-changing event to say, I have to stop this?
Some of them, yes. And so a lot of people will call me and say, I just got back from the doctor. They said, your cholesterol's crazy. You're pre diabetic. If you don't fix this, you're going to die.
Right.
So I need help. Right. And so I do get some of those calls. And then some people come to me, they're just like, yeah, I kind of want to lose 20 pounds.
Hmm.
But the key here, because I truly believe that we do have to have a real level of internal pain to change, and we have to have a really clear vision of what we want. So because we as humans, we run away from pain, we run towards pleasure. So if we utilize both of those, we get some really strong fuel to get where we want to be. So when they call me and they say, I want to lose 20 pounds, we go into the why game, like, well, why? I kind of want to like the way that I look a little more. And I look okay, but I could look better. Okay, why is that important to you? Well, because I mean, if the guy is married, right? He's like, well, I mean, I could look a little better for my wife. I think she'd like that. Plus, I do want to be around for my kids to grow up, so I think it would set a good example. Okay, why is that important to you? And we dig in deeper and deeper, and there's in every single person I've talked to, there's real pain.
Hmm.
Every single person I talk to, there's real pain. There's a driver behind why you want to lose this weight. There's a reason that you put the weight on in the first place. There's a reason that you don't have that level of discipline to take care of yourself right now. It's because you're covering up that pain, right? And that's why I felt such comfort in over consuming. At some level, I didn't feel loved or
Hmm.
lovable, right? When I've done a lot of my own mindset work, so it sounds like hippy dippy crap, but I swear when I figured this out, man, level of discipline through the roof, like the level of results through the roof, the level of self confidence through the roof. So when I realized that I was just looking for comfort, I wanted to feel loved and lovable. Well, then I could say, "Hey, wife, you love me, right?" And she said, "Yeah." I'm like, okay, I feel a little better, right? How can I really internalize this and really ensure that I understand that? So that's where really deep mindset, psychosomatic work, therapy, that kind of stuff can be really helpful. Um, but we need to figure out what's that pain and what's the vision. And if you can get such a strong vision that inspires you, it lights you up, you feel it in your chest and your heart, then that's going to drive you to where you want to be on such another level as well. So I think I answered your question. You can tell me
Yeah.
if I didn't.
You certainly did. You certainly did. And so you talked about how you specifically said yo-yo diet's killing you and you don't like counting calories. So
Mhm,
let's talk about that because like you say, people say I want to lose 20 pounds for an event or something, just kind of, and then they go right back on. I know so many people like yourself that have lost a lot of weight and just gain it right back.
mhm. Yeah, it's difficult, man. It's difficult to see it. It's difficult to be the one doing it. It's not fun. And think about it. If you said, "Okay, I'm going to lose 20 pounds," right? And this is maybe your first time going to lose some weight. So you follow the standard advice of let's count some calories,
Mm.
let's work out really hard, right? So you start hitting the gym every day. You say, "I'm going to run on the treadmill or the elliptical till it says I hit 1,000 calories, and I'm going to make sure that my caloric intake today is no more than 1,200." Like, yeah, that does lose weight. It works. It sucks, but it does work temporarily. Because what's going to happen then is you do that for a week, you feel like garbage because your body doesn't have the level of nutrients that it needs to support that new level of activity. So
Right.
it's taxing your adrenals, it's throwing all your hormones out of whack. Plus, you're hungry and pissed off. So by the time Friday night rolls around, suddenly you're at the bar with your buddies having your 18th beer and 14th chicken wing. And this is from personal experience. Like, I've done this, guys. It's not fun. And then that mindset comes into play. You failed. And you tell yourself, "Oh, no, I couldn't do it, man. I failed." But you know what? No, I know I can do this. I can do this. So you try again and you fail again, right? And when you continue that cycle, you're just reinforcing that you're a failure. You may also be reinforcing that you don't give up, but if you don't give up and you constantly fail, well, that sucks.
Mhm.
You're just not going to get where you want to be. So if we continue that pattern, that cycle, that then starts to play out in other areas of your life. You're going to see how you're being a failure in your marriage. You're going to see how you're
Mm.
being a failure in your job, in your career, as a father, as whatever it is that you are. So if we don't fix this, and it stemmed with something that seemed innocent, I want to lose 20 pounds for the high school reunion.
Right.
If we don't do it right, we can really screw ourselves, man. And that doesn't really, you got to try. Sometimes you got to try and fail to understand that that's what you don't want to do. But don't try the same thing over and over and over if that doesn't give you the results you're looking for, which is sustainable change. You don't want to lose 20 pounds once. You want to lose 20 pounds once and keep it off, right? You don't want to
Right.
have to keep going through that process. So, yeah, it's a wild cycle and it's optional. You don't need to go through that. You don't need to continue to fail. You don't even have to go hungry. Like, you can lose weight while being plentiful, eating tons of food. We call it all you can eat weight loss. It's my favorite. It sounds a little
Mm.
markety, but damn it, it's fun and it works.
Like you said, obesity is just a fundamental problem for so many issues. Here in the United States, we're hopefully at the tail end of this pandemic, and we see that the death mortality was so high with the obese. We see that depression and even suicides. There's so many of this now, and I you just can't help but wonder if the obesity was tackled, how that can all be addressed. It's just so fundamental. You're having problems with your marriage, with your being a father, etc. At your job, at your golf game, heck, playing music, I mean, and being in physical shape just solves so many of those problems. It's so fundamental and so simple.
It is. It really is. And there's a lot of moving parts and moving pieces to the whole picture too, because it's not just that, okay, if I lose weight, I look good, I feel good, I don't feel like a failure. That's not the whole thing. Like, that is a massive part of it.
Hmm.
And at the same time, I think of it. I'll give you kind of my mental model for this. Is I think of it as hardware and software,
Hmm.
right? So on a software level, yeah, I don't want you to feel like a failure. I want you to feel successful in your health. If you feel like you're a successful person in your health, well, then where else can I be more successful? Right? So that's the software. It's like it's the mental emotional component that is absolutely critical, and you will not succeed if you don't handle that side of things, right? You need the mindset work. You need to, and I hate saying the words you need to. I'm catching myself right now.
Right.
Excuse me. I'm working on my own discipline of my speech, right? The What I've found is with our clients and with me, when we work on the software component of
Hmm.
really ensuring that our mindset and our subconscious is working for us and not against us, then that feeds into every area. And we can build so much confidence through our health, our discipline, our diet that then builds in every other area. And at the same time, the hardware, right? The hardware, if you think of a computer, you want to buy the best pieces of the computer, right? The or a car, you want to buy the best pieces of a car if you're going to build a super I'm not a car guy. I don't know. You want to build badass car. You want to put that
Neither am
together.
I.
You want the best components. So your body is continually regenerating its hardware. Your gut lining is going to regenerate within 30 days. Your liver regenerates every, I think it's 7 months, something like that. Your whole skeleton regenerates every 10 years.
Wow.
You've got an opportunity to replace your current hardware with high quality hardware, right? As you eat, as you consume foods, whatever building blocks you're putting in your mouth are going to go into your body. If you're going to build a liver out of McDonald's cheeseburgers, it's not going to work very well.
Right.
If we're building it out of high quality grass fed, pasture raised ground beef mixed with organic vegetables and all this great stuff, you're going to have a body that works so well. And another component of this, especially as we combine the hardware and the software, is that 75 to 90% of serotonin is created in your gut. We've
Hmm.
got these neurotransmitters that are critical for us to feel happy, for us to feel good, for us to be good functioning members of society. So if your gut is getting inflamed with garbage food, then you're not even giving yourself the chance to produce happiness hormones.
Hmm.
So the hardware itself isn't able to output the things that make you feel like a good human. So, of course, depression is a massive issue in people that are overweight and obese. Not just because you look in the mirror and say, fat ass, what's wrong with you? Why
Right.
did I do that to myself again? But also because you literally don't have the hormones being produced in your body to let you feel happy.
What a wonderful analogy, hardware and software. So, if we continue with software, love your podcast. You've got such great content, but you have cure anxiety and depression in 3 steps. I know what they are. Would you like to share?
Oh, I've got a million steps. I called it 3 steps, but yeah, there's there's a few of them. There's a few of
Yes.
them. So let's dig into how I view anxiety and depression a little bit
Mm.
here. So to me, all emotions are valid. And this came from someone who felt very numb, who grew up in a macho world of you don't talk about or think about your emotions. Oh, there's this thing that I'm feeling, better drink it away, right?
Mm.
So, coming from that to now understanding what it takes to make a sustainable change in any capacity, whether it's health or otherwise, every emotion is valid. Anxiety, depression, anger, rage, they all are survival emotions that are very helpful if we view them as such, right? They are emotions that drive us to take an action, hopefully, if we view it as such. Depression can be rooted in inaction,
Hmm.
right? Or they're very tied together. If I'm sad and I know that I'm sad and I hate that I'm sad, I'm going to do whatever I can to not be sad. So the actions I take are either eat it and drink it away or what's causing me sad, right? What's causing me to feel that? That's the action would be thinking through that process. Then the action would be, okay, what's causing that? Let's fix the cause. If being obese is causing me to feel sad, then let's take actions to not be obese anymore. So anxiety and depression are to me more or less a cure in themselves as a signal to change.
Hmm.
So utilize your emotions. If you don't feel the way you want to, that's your body and your subconscious telling you that it's time for a change. So the way that we beat depression and
Hmm.
anxiety is, well, first off, upgrade your hardware, make sure your serotonin's getting produced by eating great food, and fix the freaking problem.
Right.
Like, what is causing it, and how do we solve that? right? And a lot of this is going to be internal emotional mindset work. I literally sit with a journal twice a day. Sounds fluffy, but man, you buff dudes out there, you need journals. I promise you, it's going to help. And I literally will analyze what I'm feeling and why, and what do I want out of life, and how am I going to get it? And that has been a massive cure. I still get anxious once in a while if I eat too much sugar.
Mm.
It's just a reaction I know I have. I still get anxious if I don't have clarity on my next steps, but I say, why am I feeling this? What am I going to do about it?
Yeah, that's it. Label it, find the root cause, and fix it. And let's go right into the journaling. What you did there, you say the number one exercise for everybody to do, 10 minutes a day. Get ready for this. Start with a pen and paper. And I'm thinking, I was thinking you're going to do pull ups. All right, I'm going to do some squats. And then you kind of go into this journaling, which is almost meditative, by the way. But please elaborate.
Yeah, absolutely. So the journaling practice that I use and that my clients use, and this has regularly been told to me, is like, this is the most powerful part of what we do here.
Hmm.
So we obviously, when we're working through our programs and with our clients, we have mindset components and physical components, right? If we don't, there are two sides of the same coin. It's the
Hmm.
hardware and the software. If
Hmm.
the mindset isn't working well, you're going to self sabotage yourself later. If the hardware isn't working well, you're like, well, I feel kind of happy, but I'm still fat. Like, what's the point? So we want to upgrade both.
Hmm.
So the journaling component, what we do, and you don't, if people out there, you want to utilize this and you're not a writer, you don't feel like sitting with a pen and paper, you could speak this into voice notes or something, or type it into your phone. Writing down does have a link to your subconscious that kind of
Hmm.
helps process quicker, but whatever is going to get you there, right? No need to over optimize, just do the damn thing. So there's a few steps. Step one is fear journaling or a brain dump. Just dump out all the junk that's in your brain. Because when I wake up, I normally have all this like, oh, I need to do this for work. I think this person doesn't like me. I don't. What am I going to do about this? I don't. What am I going to? And it's just all junk. It's just stuff just floating around. It's not who I am. It's just thoughts. When you write it all down and you get it out onto a piece of paper, suddenly those thoughts just don't have control over you anymore. It's like you've outsourced worrying to this journal
Hmm.
somehow. And it puts your brain in this problem solving mode. So as you're journaling it out, you're like, oh, yeah, okay, if that person doesn't like me, then I really don't care. And if okay, I've got these different things I got to do today. Oh, I know now I can just position them. This one I'll do at 10, this one I'll do at noon. And it just starts to get the stuff through. One of my mentors calls it an emotional colonic, too. It
Hmm.
just like it flushes out the junk that's in your brain so you can get the emotions flowing through, your thoughts flowing through in a really productive way. So, step one, brain dump. Get deep and dark with it too. Whatever's going to really help you feel those quote unquote negative emotions really deeply is going to help drive you to action as well. So, feel it, feel it, feel it. Then, once you've really hit some rock bottom moments in that fear journaling, we shift over to uh, writing down what's something you're grateful for. Let's pull
Hmm.
yourself out of this like pile of crap that we just dumped out, right? What's something I'm grateful for, man? I'm grateful that I just had a relaxing day yesterday with my wife. That was beautiful. We did a whole lot of nothing. We went and ate some food, came back, watched a movie. We went and ate more food, and came back and watched a movie. Like it was chill. It was great. I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful for she's out there planning some content that we're going to post on our Instagram. Oh, great. I don't have to do that. I'm so grateful that she's working on that. This is literally my gratitude journal right now. I love explaining this. And I'm grateful for coffee because it got me really pumped before this interview, right? And it's fun. So now I'm in this higher state of emotion and
Hmm.
just feeling good. And when you do a regular gratitude practice, you start looking at how many amazing things there are in the world. So it's upgrading your software to just recognize more happiness out there. Makes you feel good. We all want to
Hmm.
feel good.
Yeah.
From there, we go to the brag book, which is part 3. So we did the fear journaling, the gratitudes, now the brag book. And this is really powerful because you're saying, I'm proud of myself because, and fill in that sentence, right? You're going to write down 3 reasons you're proud of yourself for something you did over the last 24 hours. Or even sometimes I'll be like, I'm proud of myself for losing 85 pounds. That's
Hmm.
crazy. I'm still proud of myself for that.
Hmm.
And I'm proud of myself for getting up and taking out the garbage when I didn't want to, because I know that the ants probably would have showed up, but I really didn't want to get up. Right. But I'm still proud of myself. I got up, I did the thing. It doesn't have to be massive. You're just reinforcing in your brain, in your subconscious, that you do good things. And
Hmm.
we learn through repetition and emotion. So we just heightened our emotional state really strongly with the gratitudes. And then we're repeating to ourselves that we do awesome stuff. So we're implanting in our brain that we are people that get good things done in life. And then from there, I like to write out my goals after that. Here's what I want to do. Here's why I want to do it. And then here's the next step that I'm going to take. So that's my kind of 4-step process. Some people love, instead of just writing the goals, visualizing it, using your affirmations, whatever's going to work for you. Right. But the critical component to me is getting your fears out of your head onto that journal, just onto some paper or into a voice memo on your phone, whatever.
Hmm.
And then get some gratitude, brag to yourself why you're so awesome, because you deserve it, buddy. And then get on to feeling good. Do some good stuff with your day. So that's my journal practice. That's what our clients use, and they regularly tell me that it's just wildly powerful, and it's like compound interest. The first couple times you do it, you're like, oh, this is kind of weird, but yeah, I feel a little different. And the more that you do it, the more that you do it, I mean, a year, 2 years, 5 years from now, the amount of repetition and emotion that you've put yourself through shows your brain that you can do damn near anything.
Hmm. Yeah, very, very, very cool. And I love the way. So you do it to this day, every day. You do this journaling.
Every day, twice a day.
That's right. You said
Personally,
you do it
I'm an
twice a day.
overachiever.
Yeah.
Whether it's food or journaling, I'm going for it.
So when you wake up and before you go to bed, like when do you have regular set
Yeah,
times?
I used to have it very structured, of right when I wake up and then right before I fall asleep, because in those times your brain is very programmable. It's in this theta wave state, so it's more suggestible to the subconscious.
Hmm.
You theoretically get a little more bang for your buck out of it. However, I found that when I wake up and open a journal, I'm falling asleep on top of the journal until until I stop.
Mm.
So I get some morning movement in first before I do that, and then it used to be right before I go to bed, but eh, life happens. I'm running a business. I'm helping grow another business. I'm doing a lot of work here, and so now it's sometime around the end of my day, whether it's at the end of my work day, and I'm going to do some reflection on the day, on how could I perform better, how can I perform better tomorrow, right? What could I have improved? I'll add a little more of that kind of stuff as a workday reflection. Or if I didn't do that because I decided to race off to the gym, or something scheduling wise didn't threw it off, it just has to happen sometime between like noon and 9 o'clock. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Very, very disciplined. Do you meditate? Do you promote meditation?
I do. Yeah, and I'll be real with everybody here. Had I'm basically like your basic woke dude, right?
Right.
Where I followed all the Tim Ferriss advice. I've gone listened to every podcast. I do the biohacks, all this stuff, right? And I put all them into practice. Some of them worked, some of it didn't. So yeah, man, I meditate, I journal, I'm spiritual but not religious. All
Hmm.
the basic, like, bald-headed, bearded, tattooed guy stuff, right? So I'm fully willing to own up to being that guy. But the reason is I find results with it. It drives, these are the systems that get to the results that I want. If they're not working, I stop them,
Right.
right? So there's some things that I used to do a lot more that I don't do as much anymore. But meditation is one that I'm a twice a day meditator
Hmm.
for at least 20 minutes. And I found, because I am prone to anxiety, that if I'm anxious, I can meditate, basically knock it out.
Hmm.
Or I preemptively meditate before I get overwhelmed or anxious or anything, and it clears the cache, essentially, like your computer, and I'm back to running and crushing it the rest of the day. So that's how I roll.
I get to talk to a lot of fascinating people, and one of the main themes is meditation.
Hmm.
One of the main themes. It's amazing. I started up again, but there are days that I don't. But I should just put it into a routine. Um, what you had a great quote in one of your podcasts where you were just summarizing somewhere, and uh, don't chase the butterfly, build the garden, and they will come.
Hmm.
And it's profound, Rusty.
Thanks. Yeah, I stole it from someone. I can't tell you who. I don't remember.
It's
But yeah,
okay. It's okay.
as all of us do. We
Yeah.
borrow from everybody. I used to, when I was a musician, I was mainly playing cover music. Right. I was playing other people's songs that made the audience dance. Like, well, let's give them the best. And so,
Right.
sometimes I have a good quote of my own, but generally I borrowed it.
Yeah. I mean that's incredible. I mean, you just sit there and you think about what you're pursuing and what you're trying to pursue. Well, do this first, and then that'll come naturally.
Hmm. Hmm. Definitely, and especially if we're going to talk health,
Yeah.
right? Because health is a very tangible thing that we can work through, right? So weight loss. If you have a goal of I want to lose 50 pounds, well, awesome. That's a great goal to have. Ask yourself why. Hey, what's your goal? Why do you want it? If we can start all our goals with that, we can make a lot of headway. Now, the question is not how do I get there the fastest? The question is not which diet is going to get me there now, which trainer is going to get me. The question is how do we tend the garden so the butterfly shows up?
Hmm.
Right? We're not going to go chase that 20 pounds or 50 pounds. We're going to set in disciplines and practices and build your environment for a way that facilitates the loss of 50 pounds to bring about that body and vitality and energy that you want. All right. So in my garden, theoretically, my kitchen, is so or my house, I'm not going to bring donuts in.
Right.
Donuts don't attract caveat. Okay, I'll get back to that in a second. So we actually found some great quality, super healthy donuts that actually taste great. So we do have donuts
I
right now
see.
in the fridge, of course, right? But uh, the quote unquote real donuts, right? The ones that are just absolute garbage and they taste so good. Oh,
Yeah.
those don't come in the front door. There's a boundary at my front door. Our garden does not include donuts because the butterflies don't show up for that. Not the butterflies we want,
Right.
right? I don't go out at night hardly at all anymore. As a musician, I was out all the time.
Right.
That was a tough garden to tend if I'm
Mm.
trying to stay very lean and mostly sober when I'm around people that are partying like crazy. I still love them. And I still was there to help facilitate the party because that was my job as a musician, right? And it was a blast. However, for me, that was really tough. So it's one of the reasons I don't play in bars all night anymore, right? It's just not my thing. I'm not going to go to a bar on a Tuesday night because there's really not much good that's going to happen there,
No. No,
So I'm
there's not.
tending this garden so that way the butterflies that I want, I'm setting in place the disciplines and systems so that way the results I want show up.
Very interesting. Yeah, and stay focused and stay disciplined. Another kind of proverb that comes to my mind. I think it was a Native American, where it's chase one rabbit, get one rabbit. Chase two rabbits, get no rabbits.
Exactly.
Yeah. So stay focused. What is your position on functional doctors and functional medicine?
I think they're great.
Hmm.
I haven't used one myself because when I was getting into this, just didn't have the resources to figure that out. And I was in a very much more like, I can figure it out kind of mode. The more research I did, the more I understood. And I've done, I mean, thousands of hours of research on what is optimal health, right? So as we tie this into the butterfly example, if I tend my garden, if the garden becomes what is optimal health, the butterfly of losing 50 pounds shows up. So when I stopped chasing the runs and the calorie counting and all that, and I just said, what's going to make me healthy? That butterfly showed up, and through that, I did all this research and I learned about okay, when should we go to a real doctor versus or not? Okay, real doctor is probably not the best word to
I know
use
what
there.
you meant. Yeah.
When should I
A
go to a
medical
classic
doctor. Yeah.
Western
Right.
MD
Right.
versus when should I go see a functional medicine practitioner? And so from everything I've learned, right, every single person in this world has their strengths. Every role on this earth has a purpose. The functional medicine MD, fantastic for trauma. And man, you break your arm, go there. If you've got a really significant, severe, sudden infection, go to them. That's what they're there for. They do an amazing job. I mean, medicine has advanced so much. Like, let's use it if it's going to fix you. If I've got a horrible, horrible headache, and I can't get any work done, well, that's not good for the whole world. And I'm going to have a freaking Advil, right?
Mm.
Even though I would much rather take some sort of very natural supplement that was prescribed or recommended by a functional medicine. Like, if it doesn't work like an Advil, man, like I got things to do. Like, let's go.
Mm.
I'm going to have
Mm.
a better net benefit on the world if I have less of a headache and I can function. However, if you've got um, chronic illnesses, right? If you've got some real issues in your body, or if you're just looking to generally improve, to me, that is not the role of Western medicine. That is where I always would say go to a functional medicine practitioner or a great health coach, someone who understands the human body and what causes these issues, right? So, if, for example, we had a client who was really having trouble losing weight, And that was hard for me to see because I'm supposed to be the one with all the answers, right? So I called another health coach who's just more knowledgeable in depth on the really nitty gritty specifics of how bodies may work sometimes. And she just knew nutrition deeper than me. So I outsourced this to someone who's damn near a functional medicine practitioner,
Hmm.
just without that certification. And she said, "Oh, well, let's look at his diet. What's this? Oh, look at all those almonds he's eating. Well, that's going to give you an increase in oxalates and this and that." And that we took almonds out and almond products out, and he just drops weight
Wow.
because that's something that was inflaming his body, that was not working for his internal microbiome, hormones, chemicals, and whatnot. Because every single person is different. So a functional medicine guy is going to be able to guide you through discovering the exact root causes of your biological issues. So, big fan. I know that whenever I think of if I have a personal health issue that I want to get resolved, which I haven't had any since I made these shifts, thank God, this is amazing. Uh,
Good for you.
I'm going to go to a functional medicine practitioner because that's who I trust for that kind of thing. If I get in a car accident, take me to a hospital, fix
Right.
me. Right. So that's my personal view. Right. And nobody has to agree with that, but that's where I'm at.
I've got to speak, been able to speak to a couple functional medicine doctors, and yeah, I plan on going. And the problem is, of course, insurance doesn't cover it for a lot of
Mhm.
cases, and but a lot will work remotely now, given where we are. What is your position on intermittent fasting?
I think it's great. I think that, and especially when it comes to pretty much any diet or nutritional protocol or even exercise protocols, when are you going to sleep? All these different health things. I'm for the position of what's going to work for your body.
Hmm.
There are general principles that do seem to work for pretty much everybody, like intermittent fasting. I think from what I've seen working with a ton of clients, the ones once they put in some intermittent fasting, they feel better, more mentally clear, they lose weight faster. It seems to really make a lot of significant changes and sleep improves and all this stuff. So I'm a big fan of intermittent fasting. Now, that being said, everybody out there, if you haven't tried it, give it a shot. If you have tried it and you don't like it, don't do it. Do what's going to work for your body and get you the results you're looking for.
I moved to it about maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and I've never had a cup of coffee in my life, so I'm able to skip breakfast. So my last meal is around 5 or 6, and then I don't eat till about noon. And
Yeah.
in the beginning, it was tough because my body was telling me that I was hungry. It was amazing. I'd be so hungry at night, but when I woke up in the morning, I wasn't hungry. So
Mhm.
my body's just telling me something that's not true. It's just panicking. It's panicking because it doesn't know. But I've moved to it, and I it works for me. It really works for me, and I enjoy it. But then again, it might not work for everybody. When I tell, I played golf or something, and they're like, "When's the last time you ate?" I said, "Oh, about 20 hours ago." They can't believe it. They can't
Right.
believe it, and I mean just water and no calories at all. But again, it just works for me, and I find I do sleep better, and you know, I I should be able to keep it up, but we'll say like you said, if it works for you, then move forward with it.
Yeah, exactly. And if it works for you now, doesn't mean it'll work for you later either.
That's right.
I used to love fasting. I used to do a lot of more extended fasts, like I was doing 3 days a month, just the 3 day in a row water fast
Wow.
every month. I've done a couple 7 day fast or 5 day fasts, not seven. And I was fasting intermittently to keep about a 4 hour eating window every day. And after a while, it's just like, I want to eat more. It just sounds
Right.
fun. I'm going to be happier. And so I shifted. So now I personally have a rule of 12 hours at least that I go without food.
Hmm.
So dinner is going to be over about 3 hours before I go to bed. So generally 6 ish or so, I'm going to finish eating and I'm not going to have any food at least till 6 in the morning, but really it ends up being more like 9. Right. So it's really not anything crazy. Anybody can hit 12 hours on their first intermittent fast, which means pretty much everybody should be able to hit 14 hours and 16 hours if you want to push it.
That's
Right.
right.
And when you do this, it's going to help reset these hormones in our body like ghrelin and leptin. Those are the ones that tell you if you're hungry and if you're full. So if you have trouble with gauging your appetite, you're constantly overeating, this can help you reset the hormones, the hardware side of things, to make sure that your body is giving you effectively those signals of you are full or you are hungry. right? And not to mention, it helps reset your circadian rhythms too. So, like you mentioned, you're sleeping a little better. We're going to get into a deeper sleep because our body hasn't just ingested a bunch of calories that it needs to process. It's going to be able to go in and heal the body and really sleep deeply. And then it just gets us in line, those circadian rhythms get us in line with the sun and the earth and all this in a way that helps us just stay balanced. Everybody that we put on this gets more focused, they get more mentally clear, and they just feel more grounded in life, just more okay. I just feel stable because we have this discipline, this system in place. And it builds grit. I mean, if you've never gone more than 12, 14 hours and then you decide to go 24, oh, you're in for some fun, bud. It's going to
Yes.
be a good time. It really gets you saying like, wow, am I really this addicted to food? Like as humans, we are designed to be able to function essentially 30 days or more without any calorie intake.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's really hard to go more than 3 hours from when you wake up. Like, no, you should be able to make it at least a day. But it's really a mental struggle. It comes back to that feeling like we're addicted to food because, well, I eat breakfast, I eat lunch, I eat dinner, I had creamer in my coffee, I'm going to have dessert, I'm going to have snacks in between. So it breaks that cycle in a really, really powerfully and profound way.
And we all fast, whether we realize it or not, when we go to sleep. We go to sleep and we wake up. And what I learned recently, by the way, when you wake up in the morning, you have breakfast, you're breaking your fast.
Yeah.
That's where the term comes from. I didn't realize that. So I have relatives in Italy and I spend a lot of my youth there. And every one of them eats 2 or 3 times a day. They eat late, they eat a lot. They drink wine. Nobody's overweight, but they walk everywhere. They walk and walk and walk. They don't, and they defined farm to table, right? Because
Mm.
they're eating what's in their neighbors or their garden or the next region's garden. And it's such a simple and beautiful way to live. Uh, I don't ever see that happening here. We had the wonderful opportunity when this pandemic started to get America healthy again. Let's exercise. Let's start eating better vegetables. Let's start doing this, and it just didn't happen. What's gonna? I'll go back to the very first question, Rusty. What are we going to do?
Let's just get drunk and forget about it. No, that's the old way, right? That's the old way. The
Yeah,
old way didn't work.
it
Old way
helps
didn't
for a
work. We're
few
gonna have to,
hours. Yeah,
yeah, right.
that's it.
Pushes it off till tomorrow.
That's right. Yeah,
So, oh man, especially day drinking, right? You remember that? Oh god, whoo! All your problems get pushed till the evening, and then you just have a nighttime hangover to deal with. So you drink that
that's
away,
right.
so the problems are another day away. Anyways, so what can we do? So there's, like I mentioned, there's individual levels, and
Right.
there's like macro level. This is kind of how I mentally see this. So Gandhi said it: "Be the change you want to be.
Mm.
Be the change you want to see." So the best thing that you can do, and the Buddha said the same thing. Jesus, I think, said it. Everybody's said this on some level. What can you do to just be your best? Just be your best. Do your best. If you can do that, it will start to shift the people around you. And you don't do it with the intention of shifting them. You do it with the intention of shifting you. Accept
Mm.
them, love them for who they are. Because if you try and push this on them, they're going to say, "You're crazy, you're dumb, I'm not going vegan, I'm going to have all the meat in the world, and it's going to be the worst quality too." Ah,
Mm.
right? So don't push anything. Just be you at the best level you can. If you can't afford organic, get non organic vegetables. You're going to be okay. Do your best, man. So when we do that on an individual level, we feel good. We do better. The more that we feel good and do better, the more that we're nice to the people around us, it makes the world a better place in
Mm.
that way. Plus, you're one person that is now not overweight, obese, following unnatural rhythms of eating and sleeping. You made a difference. And there's these mirror neurons in our brains, right? So that whole this ties into that you're the average of the 5 people you're around most.
Hmm.
Well, it's your job to bring up the average, right? So you're gonna, by being a healthier person, by eating more healthily, they're gonna see it. And there's these mirror neurons in our brain that trick them into thinking that they ate healthier for some reason. They studied this in chimpanzees when they were noticing that one chimp broke open a peanut with a rock, and then the other chimps were like, "Wow, that's cool. Let's break open more peanuts with rocks." Right? So it's an evolutionarily designed thing. And a quick story to illustrate this is when I was playing with the band. We're going weekends out. We're playing in Vegas. We're playing in Reno. We're playing all over Southern California. We're playing all over Arizona, everywhere. And I would be at the table. We get dinner at whatever venue, and I would order salad or vegetables, just meat and vegetables essentially every time, right? And they were ordering plenty of other stuff that was not something that I would eat. The more that I didn't push it on them, I would answer their questions if they had any, but I would say, no, this is just what I'm ordering. No, I'm not going to have that. I'm not going to have the fourth beer, right? The more that they just started to shift, right? Because in their brain, the mirror neurons recognize what someone else is doing so that way you can learn more effectively. So, by to tie this all back in, if I'm going to be the change I want to see and I'm going to just be the healthiest me I can be, the people around me naturally start to shift.
Hmm.
So on an individual level, we got to do that. That's why my dad lost almost 100 pounds. My brother lost almost 100 pounds. My mom's lost like 40 something pounds. My wife lost 30 pounds. Like, we all just started being healthier because my wife and I said, I'm done. Like, I'm tired of being fat. So on an individual level, we got to just take care of ourselves, set the disciplines, tend your garden, be yourself at the best level you can. Individually, that's how we do it. Macro level, how do we defeat the chronic illness and obesity and all these terrible issues in our world? There's some serious there's just serious crap going on out there, man. Like,
Right.
there is a lot of garbage. Some of it is conspiracy theories. Some of it is concrete and real. That, like, there is paper trails everywhere to show it. And you got to do your research and see what is real and what's not. But one of the worst examples I heard is that in lower class, low income areas that are primarily on food stamps, companies like Coca-Cola and large companies like that, where their sodas, which somehow you're allowed to buy with food stamps,
Hmm.
are heavily marketed, much more heavily marketed at the very beginning of the month when everyone is given their food stamps,
Wow.
but only in low income areas. They looked at high income areas and they were marketed the same across the entire month. And the government has the ability to ban certain substances for purchase with food stamps, such as alcohol and other junk, right? They absolutely have the ability to ban soda and sugary drink purchase with food stamps.
Hmm.
However, they are paid so massively by sugar companies, and there's all this lobbying and corporate stuff, and I don't know enough about it to dig into the specifics on it, other than I know, like, damn it, this just seems ass backwards. For that much money to be going into the government and coming back out as a result of low income areas purchasing so much sugar, that's wrong. So there's a major food distribution, food advertising issue, and political issues all tied into that. And I mean, there's corn syrup in literally everything.
Yeah.
And corn is one of the most heavily GMO'd and subsidized foods in America. Has giant lobbies, giant all these groups that are pushing on a political level too. So if we're constantly growing more corn based sugary products are going to go through the roof because they're producing so much. It's got to go somewhere. Let's put it in literally every food. It's just a mess. And I'm still working out the specifics, and I'm not nearly as educated as so many other people on this. But what I do know is that there's a massive problem there. And I'm all for freedom, man. Huge for freedom. I want to be free to feel how I want, do what I want with my body. It's mine. But at the same time, we got to look at, there's places like Italy where they just don't even have that. They've got more strict regulations on how much mold is allowed in a wine than
That's right.
like anywhere. There's all these regulations on what you can and can't do with food. There's a balance that we can strike in there somewhere. And if we don't, I mean, America's already at like 75% obese rate, so it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, it's, cheap and bad food, high caloric, high fat is so available and it's so inexpensive. And it's like you say, I think it really comes down to money. I've heard the theory that, being skinny is expensive. because you have to buy vegetables, you have to, not just monetarily, but you have to prepare the time, and you have to, do it. And, it just takes more discipline. It takes
Hmm.
more of an effort. Like you say, you've got to make that change internally. But you have to fight against it. And to me, that's more of a challenge. I'm going to be one of the 25% that are not obese. I'm going
Yeah.
to, I'm going to fight for it. And because it's my body, it's me, and I'm worth it. How do you tell? You talked about eating with your buddies and stuff. I mean, how do you dance around the subject if you have a friend who's really obese, and how to help them?
That's a fantastic question, and it's a beautiful question. And when it really comes down to the idea of, I want you to have a beautiful life. I want you to feel healthy and fulfilled and happy, but you're not doing that for yourself. Right? That's the conversation that's going on in my head when I see someone coming out of the McDonald's drive-through, and I just feel
Mm,
sad, man. I'm sad that that's where they're at. Now, we have a responsibility to be our best selves. And as much as I want people to change, they're on their own path. I am here when you're ready for help. Please ask me. But if you're not ready, you're not ready. So you be your absolute best. Don't expect anything of them. Expect everything of you.
hmm,
And setting that example will trigger those mirror neurons, so whether or not they like it, they're seeing more health in their life. They'll ask you if they're ready. And on occasion, I mean, there are times where people have told me, stop doing that thing. It's not okay. And I
hmm,
changed immediately. So, number one thing is be yourself, be the best you can be, and that will help change other people. But at the same time, there's been times where I actually did a podcast episode on this. Uh, I was at a venue that we were playing at, and I just wasn't happy with the owner of the venue at the time, and I was kind of bagging on him, sitting at the bar eating the food that he gave me for free, the drinks that I got for free. I'm like, this cheap guy won't pay us extra, whatever, because I'm just some idiot 22-year-old. And one of the other guys at the bar said, "You can't do that. What's wrong with you? You don't talk shit on the guy who's paying you." I've never done it again.
hmm.
I've never done it again. So on that level, sometimes we should say, "Look, man, what you're doing is killing you." Right? Is that really what you want? Are you okay? Like, do you need help, man? Like, I'll help you. Are you okay? And that kind of conversation can be very, very powerful. I've only had it with very, very few people that I knew would listen, and that I had a severe, not severe, but very, very strong attachment to, that I really wanted to see them have a great life. And I knew what they wanted because I've known them well enough. Just a couple people that I've had that conversation with, and they changed. But it's a powerful and easily backfireable tool.
Right, right.
That's, yeah, I backfired. I mean, think about when you're a teenager. Someone says, "Don't do that thing." The first thing you're going to do is that
Screw
thing,
that.
right?
Yeah.
We don't change that much
Right.
from teenage years on some deep psychological levels. We still want to rebel against things, right? So that's my caffeinated rant on on that subject. Be the change you want to see, and offer to help if they're ready for it. Definitely. And just don't go to Taco Bell yourself, because they don't need the money.
They certainly don't. Yeah, because weight is so personal. If I make a general sweeping generalization, I want to say maybe especially with women as well. The
Mhm.
weight is so kind of deep, and if you mention it, you've got to be very, very careful there and dance around it.
Mhm.
It's very tough. I mean, Rusty Osborne, I mean, you're an inspiration, because not only, thank you so much for your time today. Not only did you make the change yourself, but which I did, but I didn't go the extra step and try to help others. I mean, you're dedicated now to helping. I see your success stories here on Instagram, and your podcast. I mean, I love what you're doing. I applaud what you're doing. Please keep it up. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. How can we get in touch with you?
First off, Joey, thank you for having me on, and thank you so much for the kind words. I really, really appreciate it. We're doing our best to make a difference here in the world, so thank you. Best places to find us: the Losing Weight podcast. It's literally just called Losing Weight. I don't know how nobody else took that before I did.
Ah,
So, but yep, just type in losing weight. I'll show up there. It's me screaming into a piece of broccoli. So that's a great place to check out. We do our absolute best to bring as much inspiration, motivation, actual tactics, stories of other people that have done this thing, so you can not only believe that it's possible for you, but have the actual tactics to make it happen. Right. So it's all in there as much as we can. Same thing with our Instagram at the Coach Rusty. A lot of just daily stuff on there to keep you on track. Actual actionable things that you can do, and the inspiration, motivation to keep it on track. So uh, definitely those are the two main places. RustyOsborne.com if you want. Really, I'm in love with the podcast and how it's turning out. So definitely check that out. And if anybody just needs help, reach out and ask. Even if I'm not the right guy to help you, I know a lot of people that help a lot of other people. So whatever you need help with, please don't hesitate to just go on Instagram, send me a message, or email me, the coach rusty at Gmail. Go for it. Don't care. Like, send me an email and ask for help. I know it's hard to ask for help because I didn't want to do it for a long time. Right. So no pressure. We're here to help. Want to get you where you need to be, and want you to have a good life, man.
absolutely. I'll put all that in the show notes as well. Rusty, thanks again for your time today. Keep playing that bass. I like watching those videos as well.
Thank you.
You be well.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it.